Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. Not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi, folks. Welcome back. From Fox News. Fox News poll. Now, this is quite a long article with a lot of numbers, so don't roll your eyes. I'm not going to read them all. I'll breeze through them, and you can stop the video if you want to check out things individually. Fox News poll. Youngkin pulls ahead of McAuliffe among Virginia likely voters. The race is largely focused on education and has energized Republicans. And that, folks, is the sound of the McAuliffe campaign theme song. I say that tongue-in-cheek, but the fact of the matter is, it's funny. Steve Bannon was on Timcast IRL not too long ago. Oh, maybe 3 months. And he said, what's going to happen end of August, September, as the kids start going back to school, is going to energize the parents. Now, he mentioned the mothers will be especially PO'd, and they are, about what's going on in the schools with CRT and all the other stuff that I can't see on YouTube because I'm shadow banned enough without the algorithm really killing me. And we all know what that is from Loudoun County. You can look it up if you don't know. But it's funny, as you see these numbers, it's the fathers of the kids that have really and truly come around to voting for Youngkin. It's amazing to me. So let's just take a look. Republican Glenn Youngkin has moved ahead of Democrat Terry McAuliffe. McAuliffe, I got to admit, is an incredibly unlikable candidate. Good Lord. I thought Hillary Clinton was unlikable. No wonder they're buddies. Terry McAuliffe in the Virginia governor's race less than a week before the election. McAuliffe receives 45%, the Young's 53%, a new Fox survey of Virginia likely voters. Youngkin's 8-point advantage is outside the poll's margin of error sampling. That's a big shift from 2 weeks ago when McAuliffe was ahead by 5, 51-46, and it shows the graph here. Like, I'm not going to concentrate on numbers here. It's just the race itself. If you want to stop and look at these in depth, you're more than happy to. Likely voters are a subgroup of registered voters, identified mainly based on self-reported vote intention and interest in the election. I know that personally because I live in upstate New York, and I was a city council member as a Democrat back then, not anymore, in the early 2000s. And when you go around and when you get a knock on the door by a local candidate or somebody that's helping a candidate, they have a list of the registered voters. And they also had the voting history as well. So if you're going by, say, 10 houses on the street and 4 of them vote regularly, say 2 or 3 times in the last 2 or 3 years, you'll knock on their door. If you see a registered voter hasn't voted in 4 or 5 years or only votes in presidential years and it's not a presidential year, you'll leave off a piece of literature and not knock on the door because it's a waste of time. What they're talking about is the likely voters. Those are the ones that vote regularly, even in the off years between the presidency and the midterms. And that's really the pool to get from. That's the ones that really have the real numbers. What changed? GOP enthusiasm. That's the thing. You know, John McCain, rest his soul. I liked him a lot as a man. He did some neocon things when it comes to war I didn't like, but I respected his service, his imprisonment as a POW, him coming up. I had nothing but respect for the man, but he was an old school neocon war hawk, and those kind of Republicans are the ones that got the Republican Party in this kind of trouble. A lot of Republicans hate Donald Trump, the old school neocons. But he actually saved the Republican Party. Now, it's up to them to continue on. I mean, did you see the enthusiasm for Mitt Romney? Oh, yeah, it was off the charts. Give me a break. I mean, I think Mr. Rogers was a much better public speaker as far as interest goes. I love Mr. Rogers. He was a great guy, but not very enthusiastic, I would say. It's like kind of like, the old saying, watching paint dry. GOP enthusiasm has changed. The race is largely focused on education, and this has energized Republicans, as 79% of Youngkin supporters are extremely interested in the election compared to 69% for McAuliffe. Democratic pollster Chris Anderson says if Democrats sense defeat, enthusiasm could shift in the final days of the campaign. With the race essentially tied among full registered and registered voting universe, McAuliffe could still pull this off, says Anderson, who conducts the Fox News survey along with Republican Darren Shaw. But it would take something big to ignite enthusiasm for McAuliffe's candidacy in a massively effective get-out-the-vote effort. Get-out-the-vote effort is the stuff you see who knocking on doors. What they'll do is, I know locally here, if you vote, they'll have a big pad with 2 carbons in it. Who actually voted? Now you voted for, of course, but that you voted. And then every so often, a party operative will come in and take that list and scratch it off the voter list. And then go knocking on doors in the remainder. And you keep doing that throughout the day until you get a smaller and smaller list. Sometimes people will get 2 or 3 phone calls. Hey, you didn't vote yet. Do you need a ride? Or you're knocking on your door and says, come on, I'll give you a ride now. That kind of thing. That's the grassroots things that usually Democrats are much better at. But McAuliffe, an effective get-out-the-vote effort, what my grandmother's saying, the guy's got the personality of an egg. Youngkin promises to ban the teaching of critical race theory in his first day in office, while McAuliffe denies CRT is even taught in Virginia's schools. Now, technically, McAuliffe is right. Critical race theory is very much like any other theory. Gender studies, for that matter, and gender theory and all that crazy crap, and even eugenics in the early 20th century. Those are all college courses. They're all theories. And technically, he's true, but what he didn't say was the nuts and bolts of critical race theory, i.e. the stuff they're teaching small children, that this country's systemically racist, and they give them some math problems and other things. That is CRT. They're just not teaching the course itself. And he knows that, of course, and so really, in a way, he's lying through his behind. In addition, McAuliffe is still explaining his comment in the final debate that parents shouldn't be telling schools what they should teach. That's the one. That's the one. You know what it is? McAuliffe used to be governor. I thought he sucked, but at least he won. And fairly, handily. He's only 1 term in Virginia. Maybe people should take note. I'm not a big fan of term limits as a rule, because I got term limited out, because you get rid of the good ones and the bad ones both. But Virginia only has 1-term governors. And he knows better. That tells me one of 2 things. Either he's just tired that day, and he's been repeating it, so that can't be it. This guy is so freaking arrogant. He's just finally saying it out loud what they've always believed. We're going to teach your kids what we want. We want your kids to believe what we want, and you have no say. They've always thought that. Always. But now they got the brass to say it out loud. It's pure and simple arrogance. Their survey released Thursday finds movement in the views of parents. They backed McAuliffe by 10 points 2 weeks ago, but now they go for Youngkin by 14. That's a big swing. On the question of which candidate they trust to handle education, Youngkin's previous 1-point edge among parents is widened to 12. Normally, Democrats do better on the education, and there's some of the poll numbers there. Among parents, Youngkin has dads to thank. Man, mom's back him by just 2 points overall, and that's really, really surprising, because it's the mama bears that are really PO'd. But, the dads are plus 23 and plus 21. That's pretty high. Education is a top issue. Now you can go through. It's quite a long article with a lot of stats. I'll just among likely voters trust in education moved from McAuliffe by 2 points to Youngkin by 8. And that's a big swing. And we'll go through. I'll just show you some of the polling here. And it gives you the plus and minus on the bottom. A majority of small subgroup of independents prefer Youngkin, a reversal from earlier this month when they nearly went for McAuliffe. Defections were also a bit of McAuliffe's problem, as 9% of 2020 Joe Biden voters back Youngkin. Just 2% of Donald Trump voters for McAuliffe. I'm surprised it's as high as 2%. The thing was, though, those 9% that are now voting for against McAuliffe or for Youngkin, depending on how you look at it, they weren't voting for Joe Biden. They were voting against Trump. And McAuliffe has paired among black voters 66 points. That's really high. I'm still surprised. I'm sorry. Underage, not surprising. Suburban women is the one that surprises me. I thought it'd be closer. And you can see, from the thing here, it's a long article. I don't want to make this video too long. Give you some stats. Gun owners, men, women. Now here's the paragraph that I think is going to be the tough part for McAuliffe. Almost all McAuliffe and Youngkin backers, 95% each, are certain of their vote choice, and both receive huge support from their party faithful, 93% of Democrats and 95% of Republicans, respectively, that aren't budging. That leaves a tiny percent. That leaves maybe 5, 6, 7% that McAuliffe has to work on, and he has to get the vast majority of those. 70, 75% of that little tiny bit that's left. Not easy. Not easy. McAuliffe said the other day that Biden wasn't really well liked in Virginia, and that's why they had the big guns. Barack Obama come out. And he's such a good public speaker, and he is an intelligent man. But he went back to that old tried and true Democrat crap about the racism. Unbelievable. And here's the thing. Biden won Virginia by 10 points. Boy, there's a lot of buyer's remorse in Virginia right now. But anyway, I'll go through the rest of this, and it gives you the idea of when the survey was conducted, and the points, plus or minus, and little stuff like that, and the size of the sampling. Video is going a little long, but I thought this was really important to look at because this may be a preface of what's coming up. And there it is. Fox News poll. Youngkin pulls ahead of McAuliffe among Virginia likely voters. Now, I'll see if I can find my... And this is for you, Mr. Youngkin. And former Governor McAuliffe, this is for you. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.